thing about relegating a character to a side character is that it forces the writer to only show their most important traits to make them memorable. It makes them bolder, it makes them stronger, because even though you technically have seen less of them, what you have seen was carefully curated to make the character as memorable and as powerful as possible. Or else they're just a forgettable background character. So that's why when anyone asks me what's my favorite Spider-Man movie, I'm always gonna say Captain America: Civil War, because I think no movie illustrates the character of Spider-Man better and more efficiently than this movie. Don't believe me? Why? Fine, I guess I'll prove it to you. So before the movie starts, we get this.
I have an idea.
Me too. Where's yours?
Downstairs. Where's yours?
Left hand's free, and you're acting grip. I can't play this song or I'll get copyrighted. But the song that plays is Left Hands Free by Alt J, I think the band is called. But aside from it being an absolute banger, the song is about someone trying to make a relationship work with someone who's not traditionally compatible with them. How Tony and Peter kind of aren't traditionally compatible characters, but the circumstances call for them to form a relationship and have to work together. More on how that ties in with the themes of the story later. It also has references to the prodigal son and the chosen one, which is basically Marvel saying, yo, Spider-Man is our chosen one, and we got him back, baby, let's go. But they also might have just chosen it because it slaps, who knows. Throughout this entire thing, I'm going to mention a few little things, while mostly inconsequential, I just love them, and I want to point them out, and I want you to love them too. Little thing number one, the first shot we see is of Peter holding a piece of garbage in his hand.
In his left hand. Keep that in mind. It's in his left hand.
We'll find out later what this is, but the first thing that it tells us about him is, oh, look at this. He's got a piece of garbage in his hand. Poor Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a poor boy. The building he's in is dingy, and we can even see a straight up garbage bag on the floor of his building. Yes, Spider-Man is so poor, guys. He's so back. As he walks into his apartment, the camera whips right past Tony, but you don't see him if you're not paying attention because he's out of focus and the camera is still focused on Peter. And boom, there he is, Peter freaking Parker, looking the youngest he's ever been. He's no longer played by a 30-year-old man or an actual supermodel. He's just a regular little kid. Look at him go.
I just meant they don't look normal enough to play Spider-Man. I feel like Toby was too old and Andrew's too hot. Tom is just perfectly bland enough. He looks like a default skin in the best way possible.
And then we pan the camera and see.
I've been really trying, baby.
That's the real reason this movie's peak. End of video. No, I'm kidding. But looking at the scene, we see Aunt May sitting on a couch with Tony already there with Tony's right hand in grip of a walnut date loaf, and his left hand is noticeably free. Coincidence?
I think not!
Throughout this entire scene, we get some great dialogue between these two, and it feels really natural. And it really feels like this awkward kid trying to have this surprise conversation with this big guy that just showed up out of nowhere in his life.
What? What are you doing? Hey, I'm Peter.
Tony.
What are you doing here?
It's about time we met.
And a lot of the reason that it feels really natural is because a lot of this dialogue was actually improvised. On multiple occasions, Tom has told the story of how Robert intentionally ignored the script in this scene to kind of see what Tom was made of during the auditions.
And then when we did my first take with Downey, he just started improvising and changing everything in the script, which kind of gave me license to kind of follow him. So in that scene, I just kind of followed his lead and we improvised and we did a bunch of stuff. And I thought after that audition, I was like, oh, I've definitely got this.
And that's the scene that they actually put into the final movie. Peter seems noticeably overwhelmed, and that's by design. He's getting both silent signals from Aunt May and Tony at the same time, and his eyes flicker between the two as he tries to navigate the conversation and figure out what the hell is going on. Why is Tony Stark on my couch talking to my aunt? Little thing number two that I love. When Tony mentions the walnut date loaf, Peter immediately stops him because it sucks. And he knows that it sucks. He knows Tony is bullshitting, and you could see it on his face, so he cuts to the chase.
Walnut date loaf is exceptional.
Let me just stop you there.
Yeah.
Is this grant, got money involved or whatever? No?
Yeah.
Is there money involved? I'm Peter Parker, and I'm poor as fuck. They have some great banter, and then they move on to the room alone. And that's where we get the first little thing come back around. When Tony walks in, he immediately spits out the walnut date loaf because it's bad, and they both know it.
As walnut date loaves go, that wasn't bad.
And here we enter a phase of the film called Tony knows this kid is a superhero, but he doesn't know who he is yet, and he needs to find out what kind of person he is. Title pending. A big theme of this movie is responsibility. Cap feels responsible for Bucky and not letting his friend go to prison for something that wasn't his fault, and he takes that responsibility upon himself to do what's right. Tony feels responsible for the deaths of so many people, not just the people who died in this movie, but in the Sokovia incident and even all the way back in his introduction in the first Iron Man. He had to learn responsibility, something he avoided his entire life, before the threats of the first Iron Man came about and forced him to acknowledge it. And what is Spider-Man's main character theme again? Hold on, that gets better. That comes into play later.
Oh, it's a surprise tool that will help us later.
Tony looks around his stuff and asks Peter where he got it. Spider-Man says,
We have here a retro tech, huh? Thrift store? Salvation Army?
The garbage, actually.
You're a dumpster diver.
Yeah, I was.
yes, Peter Parker is so poor, guys, it's not even funny. Oh, is he back? And this is where Peter cuts to the chase. He's honest to a fault. He doesn't know why Tony is here. He probably thinks there's been some sort of mistake. He could easily take credit for what he thinks might be someone else's work, like some Spider-Man do. No hate on Andrew, I love him, but those movies were not it. And allow this rich man to change his life, but he doesn't. The first thing he says is,
Anyway, look, I definitely did not apply for your grant.
because he's honest. He's a good kid. Tony knows who he is because he's got the tech to do the research on this guy. They have some fun banter and chemistry between the two until...
That's all on YouTube, though, right? I mean, that's where you found that. Because you know that's all fake. It's all done on the computer. It's like that video. What is it?
Yeah. Oh, you mean like those UFOs over Phoenix?
Exactly.
Oh, what have we?
Boom, it's all in the open. He knows for sure he's the guy from YouTube. He's...
So, you're the Spiderling, crime-fighting spider. You're Spider-Boy?
Spider-Boy? That's not right. I'm not going to say much about that right now, but that comes back into play later.
Oh, it's a surprise tool that will help us later.
That's where we get little thing comeback number 2.
I believe this. I was actually having a really good day today, you know, Mr. Stark. Didn't miss my train. This perfectly good DVD player was just sitting there, and algebra test. Nailed it.
The thing in his hand at the beginning of the scene was a DVD player he just found. That's why he was in such a good mood. It doesn't mean anything to the story, it's just a really nice attention to detail, and I love that shit. They have some more fun banter as he learns things about Peter.
Who else knows? Anybody?
Nobody.
He goes, okay, this kid does this alone. Interesting.
You know what I think is really cool? This webbing. The tensile strength is off the charts. Who manufactured that?
I did.
This young kid made this? Damn, he's smart. He's really smart. Tony started to get a feel for him. He might even like this kid. Some more banter ensues, some vague allusion to his backstory, and then Tony asks the big question.
Why are you doing this? I gotta know, what's your MO? What gets you out of that twin bed in the morning?
And we hear Peter's answer.
Because I've been me my whole life, and I've had these powers for 6 months. I read books, I build computers. And yeah, I would love to play football, but I couldn't then, so I shouldn't now.
Sure, because you're different.
Exactly. But I can't tell anybody that, so I'm not. Look, when you can do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you.
And then boom, responsibility. That's the reason. Responsibility. We hold on Tony as he takes in what Peter just said. There's a long silence, and we see Tony understand. It couldn't be more clear what he's thinking. Tony, who spent most of his life without it, and has only just learned responsibility, and he's been constantly picking up for the mistakes of his past ever since. But this kid who's a dumpster diver, and lives in a shitty apartment, and is still in high school, is taking responsibility for the things he didn't even do, just because he could stop them if he wanted to. And he's thinking, this kid already has more gumption than me. And suddenly, these two people, who normally wouldn't be compatible together, have some common ground. Hence, left hand free. And it was just as simple as that for Tony. That's all he needed to hear. And the next thing he says is,
You got a passport?
because he's like, now I need this kid on my team. He's a good kid. Some more fun banter happens where Peter talks about why he can't go, but Tony's ignoring him because he's already made up his mind. This kid's something special, and I want him on my team.
I can't go to Germany.
Why?
I got homework.
I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that.
And this one conversation informs all of Tony's and Peter's decisions and interactions going forward. I want to mentor this kid so he stays on the right path. because he's better than me and he has something I don't. That's why their conversation in Homecoming goes the way that it does. It's a direct continuation of the conversation from this scene. Peter says, "I just want him to be like you." And Tony says,
And I wanted you to be better.
and throughout the movies, Tony constantly makes bad decisions in order to protect Peter because he knows this kid can be better than him, but he doesn't want him to die before that happens. So he tries to keep him out of trouble, but Peter is a good kid and he can't let bad things happen when he can stop them. So every time Tony tells him to leave and stop fighting, he ignores him. Because why? Responsibility. I never really liked Spider-Man as a kid, and to be honest, I barely like him now. He's not one of my favorite superheroes. He's solid, but he's not amazing to me. But I love this scene. It showcases who he is so well. But there's one more moment to end this movie that makes it perfect.
Might be a little dangerous. Better tell Aunt Hottie I'm taking you on a field trip.
Don't tell Aunt May.
All right, Spider-Man. Give me this.
Earlier in the conversation, he called him Spider-Boy. He didn't know him. He was just some kid to him. But now after finding out everything, what this kid stands for, what things mean to him, he respects him. He isn't some kid to Tony anymore. He isn't Spiderling. He isn't Spider-Boy. He's Spider-Man. That's it. If anyone else says the MCU doesn't understand Spider-Man, fuck you. Go watch this movie again. This is the best Spider-Man movie. Subscribe so I can take over the world and end it fucking